And welcome back, everyone, to the 25th episode of the Sports Coverage Podcast. My name is Andrew, and unfortunately, Vince cannot be here this week. So, my co host for this week is going to be Ryan. So, welcome and thank you so much for being here. So, as always, we have a lot to talk about this week. The Super Bowl is approaching, but we have the conference games this week. And of course, the NBA was wild this week with lots of guys having career nights. So, we have a lot to talk about. And just real quick, just do you want to go through your favorite sports teams?
Sure. So hey guys, I'm Ryan. So I'm a big Knicks fan. I love basketball, so I'm a big Knicks fan. I love Jalen Brunson. A lot of people say that I like him too much, but and then in the NFL, I'm a big Jets fan, but the Jets sadly aren't doing too well in anything. MLB, I'm not the biggest MLB guy, but I like the Yankees because the hometown team. And yeah, that's about it. NHL, I like the Devils because from New Jersey.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. So we're gonna talk about a lot of those sports and teams this week, but we'll start with the NFL like we normally do. So, like I said, the winner of these two games are going to this year's Super Bowl in Las Vegas, and the first one to the Ravens have a chance to end the streak here and save us from the Taylor Swift NFL. The Ravens versus the Chiefs. And a big help for the Chiefs, Kadarius Toney will be out, so at least they won't
Exactly.
they won't be getting offsides penalties or dropping every single catch. And honestly, I think Patrick Mahomes has played better without him. So
And hopefully
yeah,
Taylor Swift doesn't show up at that game because I swear Travis Kelce is not good when she's there.
yeah. She obviously is going to be there, but
I know. Supporting him.
and hopefully Jason makes another appearance like we talked about last week.
Exactly. Jason's funny.
Yeah, but just what are your thoughts about this game? What are your picks? What do you think needs to go right for each team?
Um, so in this game, I honestly think that the Chiefs could win, and they honestly I think they will win just because of their experience, honestly. And the Ravens obviously haven't had a lot of experience here in this like this deep in the playoffs, especially in like the Lamar Jackson like era. And Mahomes is super used to all this pressure. Most people on their team are also used to this pressure, and they're all used to this moment. So honestly, I think that the Chiefs will win this game. And I think it'll be a good game though. But I think the Chiefs will end up winning.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna disagree with you. Really think that the Ravens have looked like the stronger team this season. They've had their like low moments as well, but the Chiefs have had even lower moments. So I think if you're looking at who the stronger team is in general, it's probably Lamar Jackson, at least this year as a quarterback. He has more targets. He's like able to just get yards easier. He can scramble really well. He's got a great offensive line. And I think Mark Andrews may be questionable for this week. But if he is actually going to be activated for this game. So now
Oh,
he has
really?
one more amazing target at tight end. And even the tight end they had playing when Mark Andrews is out was amazing too. So I think that what needs to go right for the Chiefs to win is Patrick Mahomes needs to be prime playoff Patrick Mahomes. Like you said, he's used to this pressure. He's able to play like this. And I think that Travis Kelce also needs to be prime playoff Travis Kelce. For the
He-
Ravens, I think that they just need to play how they've been playing this year. You need to have Lamar Jackson scrambling. You need to have Mark Andrews making big receptions, keeping Zay Flowers and OBJ open throughout the game. And I think that the Ravens will probably walk away with this one.
I understand why you definitely chose the Ravens to win because I think they're a more talented team than the Chiefs, but just the Chiefs like experience in these type of situations and honest in the last few years they've been to the Super Bowl, I think most of
Three,
the years, I
yeah,
think three
most
out
of
of
the
the
years
four
they've been,
times.
yeah.
Yeah. Um and twice they won it. So I definitely think that the Chiefs will win this game, but the Ravens are definitely also not a bad pick.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be probably the tighter of the two, no matter what team it goes to, because you have two interesting defenses and two offensive that could explode at any moment. So I think that this is going to be definitely the game to watch on Sunday. But of course, the one other game going on, the Lions versus the 49ers. This is the year for the Lions, the first time they've made it this far in over 25 years. And the 49ers, they've been the 49ers this year. They've had their ups and downs, but they've made it back to this point. And, they were in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And I think that this game might be a blowout on either side. Like the Lions could really just run away with this game very early, or the 49ers could as well. And I think that unfortunately it might be going more the 49ers way when you're looking at how Christian McCaffrey has been playing, George Kittle and those guys. But I think if Brock Purdy has an off night, then I think it's all Lions. What about
I
you?
think this game is definitely going to be like a very big momentum based game. And just like you said about the 49ers offense recently, in the playoffs, it's been incredible. They've been doing a great job. But at the end of the regular season, they weren't doing like as good as the 49ers should be doing. So that's just lingering in my mind a little bit. And with the Lions are a new team to this position. They're new to all like this playoff pressure, but they've been performing. I really hope the Lions win this game because I just want to experience an underdog for once, especially since the NFL has been dominated by the Chiefs for past 5 years or so,
Mhm.
and all these teams that like everyone knows are going to be good. But from the beginning of the season, nobody knew that the Lions were going to be good, and no one knew what Jared Goff and the rest of the Lions team could produce. So I really hope the Lions win this game.
Yeah, and I think a big part of the Lions' success is definitely their rookies this year. They've basically, well, between Jared Goff, they've led this team to where they are right now. So I think that it's going to, again, like the last game I was talking about the Ravens, you need all these amazing pieces to come together for the Lions. And same for the 49ers. You either need Christian McCaffrey to be running every ball, or you need Brock Purdy to not be throwing picks. And then that's how you win the game. So it's more simple for the 49ers, I think, than the Lions. But I'm looking for the Lions defense to have a hell of a game here, especially against like the run defense. So I think that that's kind of what they need to succeed here.
I definitely agree with you. I think the 49ers have a little bit more room of error than the Lions do, just because of all the talent that's on their team, and especially with running the ball. With running the ball, Christian McCaffrey is honestly, in my opinion, I think he should be the MVP. Not the MVP, but he could be the MVP. He's
Offensive
one
player
of
of the
those
year, yeah,
offensive player
yeah,
of the year, one of those candidates, honestly, because he's been incredible for this 49ers team. And with the Lions, like the Lions can win this game. I definitely think the Lions can win this game. They just have to be not perfect, but they have to have a lot more going for them. Just they have to have the momentum. That's why I'm saying it's like a big momentum based game. Because if they have the momentum, it'll be a good game. And I think the Lions could edge this one out barely, but I think they could.
yeah. No, I definitely agree, and yeah, momentum. Because as soon as Brock Purdy like kind of falls off, he really falls off, as you can
Yeah.
see in that Ravens game from a couple weeks ago.
Hmm.
Um, So some more coaching news that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, but some big moves were finally made. So Callahan is hired as the new Titans coach following the fire of Mark Vrabel earlier this year, and Vrabel has yet to find a new coaching job. But the big news that happened, and something that people suspected, but not necessarily this team, is Jim Harbaugh has decided to ditch Michigan and signs with the Chargers as their new head coach immediately after promising to stay with Michigan during the like post game press conferences and stuff from the national championship, and Michigan immediately replaced him with Sharon Moore. So this was a surprise, I think, for a lot of people because he said, "I'm staying in Michigan." Well, not he didn't exactly say that, but we could see he wanted to stay in Michigan and he
Yeah.
didn't want to leave. But the Chargers made him a good offer, like a huge offer,
Hmm.
and I think that the Chargers needed this. They were looking for Belichick or someone like this, but right now, for in Belichick's market, it has not been very good. So I think Jim Harbaugh was the better way to go. What do you think?
I definitely agree with you. And in the Chargers like coaching history, like especially recently, I don't really know the other coach's name, but the one before Jim Harbaugh was terrible. I mean he was awful.
Ooh, the
So
Raiders game.
yeah, oh my gosh. So I definitely think it's a good move for the Chargers, but again, it's just a surprise. So I guess Jim Harbaugh he just ditched Michigan basically, especially like after you indicated like he was basically telling us that he was going to stay with them. But the Chargers clearly made a good deal. They have the pieces that Jim Harbaugh wants. So I think they can make a run next year for even the Super Bowl or definitely like a deep playoff run.
Yeah, I agree. But for a team like Michigan, who's fresh off having their best season, winning the national championship in years, and now
Hmm.
their coach, who was supposed to be along with them all the way, just leaves randomly. How do you think that's going to affect Michigan going into next season?
I do think it will affect Michigan a lot, but the new Michigan head coach was the offensive coordinator for the Michigan who won for the team who won the title or who won like the whole college
Yeah.
football championship. So I don't think it'll be like a crazy change, even though Jim Harbaugh is great coach. so it'll definitely affect them in some way. But they do have the time and they've the off season to work out with their new coach and like figure out what's going on. So I don't think it'll be uh like a crazy impact, but it definitely could lead to some confusion, especially like on the offensive end.
Yeah, I don't. It's better to hire in house, I think, for a situation like
Yeah,
this where it just gets up
definitely.
and leaves randomly. But I think that it's going to be different from the Saban situation, where I mean, there was kind of some warning that something like that might happen, but they then got the second best coach in college football at the time. They got the Washington head coach, and I think they've been able to kind of pick it back up. We're getting recommits again. We're getting all that kind of stuff. So I think that Alabama and Michigan are going to be in a good spot where their coaches kind of just left a gaping hole in their program.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on all that. And the Nick Saban stuff is also making me think of like Bill Belichick because people were hinting that he was going to leave for multiple years now after Tom Brady left. And it's been kind of like the same with Saban, especially like recently before he like left. So yeah, I think Alabama and Michigan will both be pretty good going into next year.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think that they're always going to be good programs, but
But yeah,
especially
because they just get all
they,
those commits.
I think they hired the right guys to replace
Yeah,
like the all the guys who left.
yeah, I agree.
So another kind of coaching question I have for you is the Eagles definitely did not have the season they wanted, and there's a players only meeting that happened towards the end of the season. They are going into the playoffs. So, do you think that Nick Sirianni still has a future in Philly, or do you think that he is going to be let go sometime this offseason?
I think that he will be let go sometime this offseason because just throughout the whole season, like the Eagles started off, I think, what they start off 9-0 maybe, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think they got to 9-0. Yeah, right
Yeah,
after he
and
won.
then they finished the season, I think 11-6, correct? They
Yes, I believe
they
so.
finished the season 11-6. And that is just crazy to me how you just let your team. I mean, I know it's not all on Nick Sirianni, but I just find it crazy how the team went from this high and they went all the way to here to losing in the first round of the playoffs to a
Mhm.
below average, in my opinion, a below average Bucks team. So
Yeah.
I don't see him having any future in Philly. What do you think?
Um, I'm gonna say that listen, I agree with the players that there needs to be some type of change and he needs to listen to what's going on because I had DeAndre Swift on my fantasy team this year. He played half the snaps in one of the games, and he is a guy that they went out and got, and he is supposed to be their main running back, and that's not what's happening. He's not drawing up plays for Jalen Hurts that need to be drawn up. He's not getting AJ Brown the ball enough. Just these minor things that he's just not using this crazy team. This team's insane, and they only won 11-6.
Exactly.
Like they got better over this offseason after losing the Super Bowl, and they just lost in the first round.
Exactly. And the team that they lost to isn't even that good. Is
Yeah, they just had the comeback player. Well, want maybe the comeback player of the year, and that's it,
Yeah,
kind of.
exactly.
Like, I yeah, I agree. Nick Sirianni needs to go. As a Giants fan, I'd like to see him crash and burn again, with him at the helm. But you know,
I also
he's not.
don't,
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off, but I also don't think that Jason Kelsey's retiring is helping the team either because I know he was such a big leader
he
in that
was the
offense.
coach.
Yes, basically he was the coach. Exactly. He was
Yeah,
on the offense, on the defense. He was a huge leader on that team. And with that loss and with the loss, I hope Nick Sirianni goes because I can't even watch it anymore. But yeah, it's just a big loss.
yeah. And it's hard to watch the Eagles at the end of the year there because they were
Hmm.
just having terrible games, and his coaching move that lost them the postseason basically is him playing AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, who was already partly hurt
I
in
know.
the in that last game against the Giants, which they got blown out.
I
And that led to AJ
I
Brown
don't
getting
even
hurt
know.
and not playing that last game. And then we talked about it a couple weeks ago when we were previewing that first game, and I'll go back and find it in my notes. But they were gonna be missing like AJ Brown and potentially Hurts, Devontae Smith, DeAndre Swift, Blankenship, and Slay. Those guys were all questionable going into that last game because of bad like coaching decisions that were made.
Yes, they're obviously going to be in the playoffs, so just don't play them. There's no need for those last games,
Yeah,
especially when they're going to get blown out.
especially when the Cowboys, who had the number one seed, are playing the Washington Commanders.
I know.
So Nick Sirianni, bad coaching moves in general, and I think that the Eagles, being the team they are, deserve better. Really,
Yeah, because they have maybe the most talent in the NFL, in my opinion. The talent on that roster is
overall
crazy.
talent, it's
Overall
wild.
talent is
Yeah.
crazy, I know. But the bad coaching decisions and just honestly the coaching in general has been just terrible, which is ruining their season, which ruined their season actually.
Yeah,
They lost to a below average Bucks team, in my opinion.
yeah, and it's gonna be bad going into next year if Nick Sirianni stays. If there's an issue in the beginning of the season, firing in the middle of the season is never good.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens there, and keep listening each week, and we'll keep you updated on what's going on because there are definitely some rumors swirling about what's going to happen to Nick Sirianni. So
Mhm.
the NBA, everyone in the league might have like just became
This
like
week it
superheroes
was
overnight. I don't even know what what happened.
this
Like
week everyone's been going crazy. I don't know what's happening.
we're talking about like one guy, and then we see that another guy dropped like 62. It's
Exactly.
Yeah. So Luka Doncic dropped 73 points in last night's game against the Hawks and shot 76% from the field, which is crazy. Like, we know Luka is one of the best players in the league, but this is, yeah. And he played every minute, I think, right?
I'm pretty sure. I I I don't even know how a player does this because 73 points in today's NBA and is just crazy, even though in the past week we've seen multiple 60 plus point games from different players each week. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Over
just
the
been
last week.
crazy. The
Yeah, it's
last week,
crazy.
it's just been crazy. And the craziest thing to me was that the Mavericks only beat the Hawks by 5, and the Hawks aren't even like the Hawks are good. Like, don't get me wrong, they're not bad, but what would have happened if they versed the Celtics or something like that? Like
They would have lost that
they
game.
would have lost that game by maybe double digits with Luka having 70 points. So I'm just worried about if Luka's like taking too many shots and it's hurting the team. But 73 points obviously is crazy. And I was watching the post-game interview with like Jason Kidd, and one of the reporters asked like about Luka or something, and Jason Kidd just said that Luka is the team, he is the plan.
Which
And
is that's not really the thing you
that
want to be
yeah,
saying
if
in a
I would
team.
yeah, exactly. If I was like Mark Cuban in this situation, even though he's leaving, I don't know if I want to hear that.
Because if Luca goes down, which he has in the
Luka
past, the
goes
Mavs
down.
the Mavs are done.
I mean, they're gonna have Kyrie, but can Kyrie really carry your team? I don't really think so.
I don't think Kyrie was ever the plan for the Mavs.
Exactly.
Like,
I think he was just like a rush decision that
yeah,
they
it
weren't
was
really
able to
well
happen, and I
thinking.
think they just went with it because Mark Cuban's got the jersey sales there.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
going well.
And
But
then
yeah,
also just I just find it like coincidental. Like obviously, yesterday was the day that Kobe Bryant sadly passed away in the helicopter crash. And yesterday, Luca had 73 and Devin Booker had 70, not 70, had
yeah,
62 points. And then on January 22nd was the day that Joel Embiid set the 76ers like scoring record, dropping 70, and Cat also had 62. That was the day that Kobe dropped his infamous 81 points. So
yeah.
I just think it's pretty
It's
cool.
fitting. It's fitting
It's
for it to
fitting,
happen
yeah,
this week. But
exactly.
it's Booker dropped 62 and Cat dropped 62. They both lost those games.
I
And when Luca dropped
crazy.
73 and Embiid dropped 70, they won those games by a lot less than they should have.
Yes. Um,
Which,
yeah,
especially
when
against the Spurs for the
I know.
76ers, they should be blowing out the Spurs. And
Exactly.
and we talked about this a couple weeks ago on Christmas Day where we said, listen, like they have Maxi and they have those guys on the 76ers, but Embiid didn't end up playing on Christmas Day against the Heat, and we previewed that game. And we said the 76ers really aren't anything without him. And these teams that are relying on these one guys, you like Luca, Joel Embiid, LaMelo, like all these guys, they can't play these games without him.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad, and it really hurts the team. But then you have your team like the Knicks, who is making good trades and getting all these playmakers who are able, like Anunoby. His defense is crazy.
I know.
Brunson's been one of the best players in the league this year. Randall's been heating back up again.
Randall's been heating back up. Exactly.
Yeah, like those guys are all playmakers for this team. You walk into the Mavs stadium and you see everyone wearing Luka Doncic jerseys, but then you walk in MSG and you got
You
different
got different
numbers. That's
jerseys
something you
everywhere.
should see. And I think that should be a way to gauge how good a team is if all their guys are if all their fans are wearing different jerseys.
Yeah,
I
I've
think it
never
actually
really thought about.
matters.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it that way, but I definitely agree with what you're saying. Some teams just have to. I feel like you need to have one main player, but then you need to have like a bunch of really like top tier role players to like help him and fit in well. That's why I think that I don't want to go on like a rampage about the Knicks, but that's why I think that the Knicks are doing so good. It's because they have Jalen Brunson to run the offense, and you got guys like Anunoby who's guarding the best player night in and night out, no matter the position. He can guard Embiid one night, he can guard Trae Young, whoever like is the best player on that team. Thibodeau can just put him on and just make him guard that guy. And even with Randall, like Randall's been getting boards, he's been playmaking, he's even been scoring a lot. And the thing about Randall is just so strong. He's a tall guy, he's like 6'8", 6'9". And he's finally stopped shooting a ton of threes and just chucking up threes day in and day out. So finally, he's understanding how to use his body, which is why he's been having multiple consecutive like 30-point games. I think he might have had like 39 or 40 points recently.
Yeah.
And I feel like all these teams with just like that one main guy aren't really gonna make it. That's why I feel like watch over the years, like even with like last year with the Nuggets, Jamal Murray was a huge factor in the success of that team. And the year before with the Bucks, Giannis was the main guy, but even the role players like Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, they all helped a ton. So I think those teams with like the main guy doesn't have to be the best main guy, but you have to put good pieces that fit in around them, and that's how I think a team can be
Yeah.
successful.
I think the worst example of that right now in the NBA is the Lakers relying on a 40-something-year-old LeBron
Well,
James.
39-year-old LeBron,
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
39-year-old LeBron James as their main guy. That's not gonna work.
not gonna work.
even
It's
even though he's playing well, that's not gonna work.
Yeah, he's playing really well, but just even in the past years, like the Lakers are consistently a play-in tournament type of team. They're not even in the
And then
regular like, playoffs.
but but then if you go too crazy, because like you're looking at the Knicks who have like a bunch of playmakers, but then you're looking at the dream team Nets who decided to go for the biggest, like most cocky players in the NBA to be their like three of their starting five. They're not going to work together at all. They're not going to play together. They only
Yes.
played 13 games together.
hmm There's the Nets on everyone on that like Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie team. Everyone was ball dominant. You need to have people that can play off the ball.
And that's what we
And
said about the Clippers earlier this
exactly.
year, but they fixed it.
The Clippers did
They've been
fix it.
playing well.
Russ has been doing good off the bench. Um, PG-13 and Kawhi, they've been doing good.
And
Everyone,
Kawhi got that big extension this year too,
yes.
which is
Everything has been like fitting into place for the Clippers, especially of like recently, which I think
yeah.
is pretty cool.
And Harden's been playing
Harden's been playing good.
better than he
Better.
played, I think, at the
Yes.
76ers last year.
Yes,
I think he
definitely.
fits better with this team.
hmm
So, speaking of bad teams that stayed bad, the Pistons are still on pace to
Oh
be the
God.
worst team in the NBA of all time. Which, you know what? I think a lot of fans wanted that wing stop, and they just didn't want that to happen.
Exactly. The wing
You know,
stop.
you get the free wings with the Pistons when the Pistons win.
I think the wing stop cursed them.
Yeah. So this is terrible, and
I think the big problem with the Pistons is that, like, Kay Cunningham has proved. I think Kay Cunningham can be an all-star caliber player. He just has to get in a better situation, obviously. The Pistons are also a very, very, very young team. They have Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, who at one point was like the youngest player in the NBA.
yeah,
James Wiseman, who's even young. They have a ton of young players. So I think if you give the Pistons a little bit of time, then they can definitely be a decent team, not as bad as they are now. So I think they need a little bit of time and definitely some coaching changes need to happen over there.
yeah. I feel like they're delaying it a little too much, but then they also know no one wants to come be the
Yeah.
coach of the Detroit Pistons.
Exactly. Like
So
Kyle Kuzma once like tweeted out or something like at one point you just don't want to be that team that loses to them. So I think it's the same situation with like that head coaching position or even like the other coaching positions. You just don't want to be that coach to be
yeah,
like known as the guy who's like on the worst team, the guy coaching the worst team possibly in NBA
not gonna
history.
lie, I think that you would be smart enough to coach the Detroit Pistons
I know.
because whatever is going through their mind right now is just like it.
It's just
Are
I
they
don't really
eliminated from playoff contention yet?
oh, they have to be. I mean,
Wait, I'm gonna
th
check because that would be funny if they could still make the playoffs.
that would be quite funny.
Let's see. Um, they are not.
They are not
There's still a way that they can make the NBA playoffs.
really. That is just crazy.
This is so bad.
And
No, just give up everything and trade for like I don't know who would even be able to save this team.
uh,
Uh,
Jokic, maybe.
no, but he can't play without his
Exactly.
boys on the Nuggets.
And I think that the Pistons are like right now, I'm just gonna make like a little comparison. I think the Pistons are in a very similar situation as the Warriors, except the Warriors are kind of opposite. The Warriors have too many old players, while the
Yeah.
Pistons have too many young players, I feel like. And Steph Curry is to carry that Warrior squad,
Also, one
which
guy on the Warriors likes to put people in headlocks a lot, so that also might
yeah, that
be
that one guy, I forget his name. I'm kidding.
Draymond Green,
Draymond
perhaps.
Green, he returned um
Mhm.
in their last game, I'm pretty sure, after sadly the Warriors assistant coach sadly passed away. Which
Yeah,
I wonder if that will unite them though and make them more together as one, like more together. But
yeah.
it's just sad to
Because
see.
I think seeing Draymond come back for that's like a big like stepping
Yeah,
point
it's
for
like a
him
big
and that
yeah.
team because
Hmm.
it shows that he's still with them and he's still there though he's taking his
It's like
time off.
time off. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And I wonder, especially since like the assistant coach, and I've heard numerous things about like that the assistant coach, I forget his name, but that he was like a great coach. He helped everyone,
No, I
and
know. And we
he
could
was a
see
great
that with
guy.
the Warriors the last couple of years. They
Exactly, yeah.
but the fall
Even
off is real.
the
Like
fall
for
off is definitely, and I think the problem with the Warriors also, Steve Kerr, like I respect Steve Kerr with everything they've done with the Warriors dynasty. It's hard to not, but Steve Kerr, he's very, very good at developing guards, but with those big men, it's just he's just not great at developing them. That's why in the past years the Warriors have been playing small ball besides like Looney, obviously.
Mhm.
And but Looney's not a great scorer. He's great on the rebounds, great
Yeah.
defensively, but Kerr just has a hard time developing the big man. I wonder if that's because like he when he played with the Bulls, like he was a guard, obviously, because he's a small guy. So I wonder if his
Bro.
like guard skills were,
Yeah.
I don't know, just are helping his coaching, but it's clearly not helping like his coaching with the big guy with the big man,
Yeah. No,
like the
I
centers, the
agree.
power forwards. Yeah.
Yeah. It's and we'll I think we have to check in when we see what happens like with the playoffs and where these guys stand because the Warriors I don't think are going to make the playoffs at this point, which
I I don't really know. I think they can make the play in like 9 or 10 seed, but if they play like even like the Lakers, like a half decent team, like if the Lakers are like the seventh or eighth seed,
yeah.
I don't really know if the Warriors can win, especially considering that the Lakers, I just feel like have a little bit more of a complete team than the Warriors, even though they do rely on 39-year-old LeBron James, which I don't know if that's a great look. But I
Yeah.
think the Lakers might be able to like edge them out, or even like another team like the Bulls, possibly. Even though
Yeah. They could
it's
lose to
they
lose
could
to
lose to
anyone.
anyone at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
Besides the Pistons.
So, yeah. So, moving on to the MLB, it's the off season still, and some big guys have yet to sign, but some big guys also did sign this week. The Cubs add relief pitcher Neris on a 1 year, $9 million deal, which is a big stepping stone for the Cubs because really they've been the same like throughout this offseason. There's nothing that's really changed besides not re-signing Cody Bellinger yet, and I think for Cody, he just kind of needs to re-sign. The D
Mhm.
backs signed Jock Peterson to a 1 year deal, and the Brewers make the surprise signing of Reese Hoskins to a 2 year, $34 million deal. And seeing someone like Reese Hoskins leave the Phillies team that he's been with forever
He's been there with
is
like a while. Like I'm not even the biggest
yeah,
baseball fan, but I know Reese Hoskins was was good on the Phillies. It wasn't like he was
Mhm.
even like bad.
Yeah, and you know, just a better guy in Bryce Harper just kind of took his job. Really,
Hmm.
that's pretty much what
Yeah.
happened. So, Joey Gallo, Joey,
Oh
he's
gosh.
he's and it's the most fitting that he signs the 1 year deal with the Nationals because that's the only team that he could really help at this point,
Exactly. At this point,
besides the Athletics, but they don't have even the money to sign him.
I know. I think Joey Gallo's batting average is just going downhill at this point. And the Nationals,
He
like you
wasn't even
said,
half bad last year, really,
no,
but it was
exactly.
still not great.
Yeah, and I think like you said, the Nationals the only team that like he can really semi benefit a little bit because all
Yeah,
the other teams he's just gonna be like
because
just
now
there,
he
he's just
needs
gonna
to
be
be a
present.
veteran
Yeah, he needs
for
to
the
just be good in
Nationals.
the locker room and just help them.
Yeah. So, Aroldis Chapman signs a 1 year deal with the Pirates. Again, the Pirates are the only team that could benefit from signing Aroldis Chapman, and where it's not like a backup signing for them. Like I
Hmm.
think that he'll really strengthen that bullpen, and it'll be fun to see how he plays there. And
Yeah.
James Paxton, former Yankee as well, signed a 1 year deal with the Dodgers, who have still spent more money than the entire league has this
Oh my
offseason.
gosh.
So
We gotta stay and talk about the Dodgers for a second because the amount of money that they have been spending this offseason has been insane. And I don't even know if it's gonna fully work out for them because they're just signing so many just
well,
signing so many superstars
they're also
at
the
this point.
Dodgers, so
They
like
are,
the
yeah,
playoffs
exactly.
never work out for them.
The playoffs don't really work out every year.
Exactly. So the 2024 Hall of Fame inductees were announced this week, and those will be Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer, some of the best all-time players who are now joining even more of the best. And just a quick thing I want to ask you about, just real quick. So A-Rod and Manny Ramirez were allowed on the ballot for the first time this year, and they were both known for using steroids, and they both finished with about 31% on the final ballot. So do you think that these guys should be allowed into the Hall of Fame, and or guys like Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa? Do you think they deserve a place there in the Hall?
That is a great question because I definitely don't like all like that cheating stuff, and I don't agree with anything with drug related that they've done. But I feel like players like A-Rod and like Manny Ramirez and Barry Bonds for their franchise, they just have done so much that I think it's hard to not like even think about them or like include them in like a Hall of Fame spot because of how much they've done for like their respective franchise.
Yeah. And Barry Bonds will go down in history always as like one of the best ever, but you'll
Hmm.
always have that asterisk there. So it's
Like,
hard to put a guy with an asterisk on the Hall of Fame ballot
hmm.
because
And I,
this is
uh-huh.
yeah, go ahead.
And I definitely like see like the other side, like if you're saying that they shouldn't be allowed in the Hall of Fame because, and I also could agree with that too, because if all these other guys are just not cheating and you get an unfair advantage, it shouldn't really like I don't think it should really count.
Yeah,
I can see either side honestly.
yeah. And the last thing I'm just going to say about that is you're putting these guys who maybe without steroids deserve to be in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. You're putting them on ballots with guys like next year Albert Pujols, one of the best players of all time. You're putting it on with guys like all these guys who have retired in the past couple of years that played legitimately and have played well. I think that it's unfair to put them on the same ballot and not give them the same chance.
Yeah.
So just a quick couple things in sports that we don't talk about a lot. In soccer, Jurgen Klopp has announced that he will be leaving Liverpool at the end of this season because he does not have the energy to continue coaching. And he said that he may return to coaching, but he will not coach again in England.
Hmm.
In tennis, the Australian Open final will feature Medvedev and Sinner, who beat Djokovic in the semis, and the match will be played this Sunday. And as always, we have the fast fact to end out the episode. An NBA one, kind of in honor of Ryan being our guest who
Oh
loves the
yeah.
NBA. So Steph Curry will not be starting this year's All-Star game for the first time in 9 years, and Giannis and LeBron were named this year's captains since they've reverted back to the old format.
Hmm.
So I don't know. We were talking about the Warriors a bit, and Steph has stepped into that different role. But has he
Hmm.
really played badly enough this year where he doesn't deserve to be a starter?
I don't think actually he should be a starter. So I'm actually going to agree with the NBA's decision because Luca obviously has been dropping 73 points, and Shea and that Thunder team has just been so consistent. So I really I think that they do deserve the spot, and I think Steph should definitely be the sixth man, but I think that Shea and Luca both deserve the West spot
Yeah,
over him.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So that's pretty much going to do it for this week's episode of the Sports Covered podcast. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening, and especially thank you to our guest, Ryan. And as always, check out clips and extras on the Instagram and announcements when we'll be posting. And like the video and subscribe here on YouTube. And we have audio only on Spotify. So thank you, everyone, so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.